Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Good evening and welcome to another amazing episode of Black Authors Matter TV. I'm your host for tonight, Gwen Richardson, and my co-host, Dr. Rhonda, will be joining us later. Today is her mother's birthday, and they took her out to an early dinner, so she'll be running a little late tonight. We have another amazing lineup of guests. If you all missed it last week, we celebrated our 800th guest. So we've interviewed 800 different people on this show. And we've celebrated our 5th anniversary in July. So we are showing that longevity is its own reward. And so we are here for the duration and have some exciting things ahead. For those of you all who plan to attend the National Black Book Festival, if you go to our website, nationalblackbookfestival.com, you'll see the hour-by-hour schedule. So if you want to know everything that's happening at the festival hour by hour, go there and you'll be able to access that information. Also, we have, I believe, 2 slots left for author vendors who may want to attend. So if you would like to sign up, please do so without delay. And that's it for my opening remarks. We'll be giving away 1 book tonight. And so welcome to the show for those who are returning, and welcome also for those who are new. We appreciate you. So our first guest is a young man. He is fantasy, writes under the fantasy genre, fantasy category. He's been very active recently with his 2nd installment in his series, because I've seen his pictures all over social media. I don't think we're friends, but we have some mutual friends. And so your posts are showing up in my news feed. So anyway, LaDarrion Williams, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And your book, I see the one behind you is the original. Okay, Blood at the Root. And then the new one that just came out is called
Bones at the Crossroads. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And I noticed that you have an HBCU, and you call it a magical HBCU as the setting for your book. And so my first question is, did you attend an HBCU?
No, I did not. I attended a PWI in Tennessee. But I grew up in Alabama, and I grew up around people that went to like Alabama State, went to Morehouse or Howard. So I grew up around HBC by proxy, but I didn't attend it.
Okay, I just wondered. I also went to PWI, but all of my siblings and my dad went to an HBCU. My mom didn't, but she didn't get her degree until we were all grown. She went to school for 2 years, two courses per semester for 8 years to get her bachelor's. After we were all grown and had, I think my baby brother was in college when she went. So, but they all went to HBCUs. And so I've been around, and my daughter went to an HBCU. So
we're all around it.
Yeah, I'm like that. Like you, I'm around it, been around it my whole life. So, what led you to make an HBCU the setting for your series?
I mean, when I was sitting down to write it, I was creating the world of Cayman. And I didn't want the school setting to be steeped in any of honestly, whiteness. I wanted it to be Black, and we learn about Black history, and we learn about the customs of Black American and the folklore. So I wanted it to be completely entrenched. in Blackness. So that's why I kind of said it as an HBCU. But even though they still learn about their magic and it's fantasy and like there's so much um, supernaturalness, but there's still a grounded education that these students, that these characters that you meet go through. They still learn about Black history. They still, there's a chapter where Malik, the main character, he's like, I go to an HBCU, but I still got to take algebra. Like that's kind of crazy. So, it's still very, very grounded in its storytelling, but there is like some supernatural elements. But yeah, I just wanted to be around Black folks in a fantasy because I felt like we didn't really see that in a lot of books.
Okay, that is a fairly new concept in books, although we are seeing it more and more, and also targeting the teen, young adult uh,
Absolutely.
demographic. So, but you're right. Up until recently, we really didn't.
Hmm.
Science fiction wasn't really uh, a category of books that had a lot of authors in it.
Right.
Uh, the two that and I'm an avid reader. I'm an author, and I've been reading since I was 4. So, but and we had a bookstore. We had a brick and mortar for 10 years. So I've been in the book industry for
Oh,
years,
wow.
25 years. But Octavia Butler and Tananarive Due,
Hmm.
they had fantasy, uh, supernatural elements in their books. Um, Brandon Massey, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but his earlier work was kind of in that lane.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and his later work is more than the thriller, contemporary thriller.
Hmm.
But there wasn't a lot historically in this category. So this is fairly new, and it seems to be making its way around, especially with younger readers.
Absolutely.
And is that now? What's your target audience?
I- Industry wise, it says, young adult, teens, going to college, high schoolers, 14 and up. But I've been meeting middle schoolers, I've been meeting high schoolers, college, even people, in their 30s and 40s and beyond reading this book and enjoying this book because yes, the book is set around this 17-year-old kid, but there is, people who are of older, age, they still can find themselves relating to like characters like Mama Aya, who is, the grandmother, right? The grandmother that we all know, that we all, experienced and was blessed by, or the aunties and the uncles that are in our family. The cousins, the family member, the professors and the
Entertainment.
educators. So older, adults can definitely read this book and still be connecting to it and find themselves not only in the teen characters but also in the older adult characters as well. So I feel like it's for everybody, honestly, at all age groups. Well, elementary, I think they're a little too young to read it, so give it a few years.
Okay,
um,
does it have any scary like horror elements? Or is it
Um,
fantasy?
and not horror in the traditional sense of it, but like I mean, I will say it is college, so
Okay.
there are things happening. There's language, there's I mean, everything that happens in college, it kind of it's not gratuitous, obviously, but no, it's not traditionally scary. I haven't been told that it was scary, so I don't think so. I'm not a horror writer, so I'm not going to claim that title, but yeah, no, I don't think so.
I have a good friend that's a horror writer. She's a Black female horror writer, and she's mostly when she goes to horror events, she might be the only Black person, or there might be one or two others. There's not a lot of
Mm,
people in that genre, and strictly in horror, that are
mm,
writing truly scary stories.
right.
Um, so when you have been traveling all around with your book, you're going to where? You're going to pretty much everywhere. You're doing libraries, you're doing schools, you're doing
Uh,
bookstores, you're doing
yeah, pretty much everywhere. I've been all the way. I live in LA, but I've been all up and down San Diego, LA, San Francisco. I went to Vegas. I just got back from Petersburg,
oh,
Virginia. Yeah, they
Okay.
had a black book. I think they had like their, I don't know if they, I think this was their first black book festival. Resist Books in Petersburg, shout out to them. They invited me out. I got to go to Washington, D.C. the first time yesterday at Mahogany Books and got to sign there. So yeah, I've been all over. I've been all over. I spoke at Virginia State University. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I spoke to them. Hopefully, we're doing a HBC official HBCU tour next year for book
That would,
three.
I was
Yeah,
going to ask about that too. That would be really, really cool.
yeah. I'm praying that goes through. But yeah, yes, man. I've been everywhere, and just to show face and to let people know like, hey, I'm here, and this is my work, and this work is for you. So yeah, schools everywhere, everywhere. Yeah, just to get my name out there.
Okay, now what led you to write this story? Like, what did something trigger it? Uh, Something happening like in the contemporary world? Were you reading some fantasy and found it lacking? What led you to write this series?
I mean, in short, I think, I I was getting back into reading because I stopped reading young adult books for years. I just felt like young black boys were not, especially teen black boys, were not at the forefront in a young adult book, specifically young adult fantasy book. If they were kind of like off to the side, or they were only used to make like white main characters, like to kind of uplift them and their storyline. So I started Blood at the Root. I always say that it was with me since I was a teenager. I think since I was a kid, but I think it manifest itself to me until like 2020, where I was in a Barnes and Noble and I walked up to the clerk and I said, and we were at the young adult fantasy section. I was like, hey, I'm thinking about getting back into reading. Like I read adult books, but I with young adult. But are there any with like black teen boys on the cover? And we literally looked up and down between each shelves and we couldn't find anything like where a black boy was on the cover. It was about his story, and he is the custodian of his own image, and he at the center. And when she couldn't find anything, I made that declaration right there. I was like, oh well, I guess I need to go home and write this story that I've been looking for years. And so I went home, wrote the first draft of Blood at the Root, which is the first book in the series, and wrote that in like 12 days, and been working on it for that entire year. This was 2021. Been working on it from 2021 to 2023, and that's when I realized that, okay, I was like, I think this is going to be a book. This is going to be my debut novel. So yeah, that's how I kind of came up with it. It was just a need. It was my personal need to see black boys be to be the hero in their own fantasy story. So that was the reason.
Well, we've heard some, I think, was it Toni Morrison or Maya Angelou? I know Eric LaSalle has said it too, that if you're a writer, if you're an author, and you don't see a book about a topic that you think should be out there,
Hmm.
then write it, or write the book that you would want to read yourself.
Absolutely.
They said
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
so, I think that's good advice for someone who's wondering, because I think too many people are chasing what's already been written and trying what's been successfully written.
Hmm.
And then they try to duplicate it or try to mimic it. And uh, that's not going to get you anywhere in the long run.
Right.
Um, and you don't get to carve out your own space and your own readers.
Right.
Um, Now, someone asked in the comments what was the title. So, Blood at the Root is the first book, and then the second book is Bones at the Crossroads, correct? So, do you have a
Absolutely.
copy of Bones at the Crossroads handy so you can show it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and that looks like it's a hardcover. Are
Yep.
they both hardcover and paperback? Is that what it is?
No, well, the Blood at the Root is only in paperback. Bones at the Crossroads comes out in paperback. I don't have a date, but hopefully next summer. Um,
Okay. All right.
but
So
yeah,
they did that one in hardcover.
yeah, this is hardcover. You see the beautiful Malik on the cover, with the faces and yeah, so this is book two in the series, and I'm currently working on book three. Even before the interview, I'm polishing the second act of book three because deadlines are real. So
Yeah, that's
uh,
the thing about now you didn't have any other books that you did independently before this or anything like that. This is like your debut.
this is
And
my debut. I had a book that I was trying to get published, but it didn't make it. Maybe I'll revisit it one day. But yes, this is my official Blood at the Root is my official debut.
okay. And did you go through an agent?
I did. Uh, so in the middle of writing the book, I was gonna self-publish it. And I was working with an editor. Shout out to Margot Weston, black woman from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. As we were working together, she convinced me to go the traditional route because she was like, "Look, your mission and what you're trying to do, um, it, it's important." And so she helped me with the queer letter. She helped me with getting Blood at the Root like ready for agents, and I submitted to probably over 300 agents from this was March 2021. So I submitted to like hundreds of agents. And a lot of them said no. A lot of them rejected the book. I was on TikTok live like a few weeks ago and I was like, a writer asked me like, how do you deal with rejection? So I read some of my rejections out loud. And
Oh,
it was a very humbling experience for me because I was like, oh my God, there's so many rejections. But yeah, so I submitted to agents and they all kept saying we like the book, but we don't know how to connect to
mhm.
Malik. We
Yeah,
don't we,
they don't think that there's an audience for
and yeah,
that.
they said
And
it's not marketable.
they don't know that there's an audience for it because they're not in those communities where they're living.
Right. Absolutely. And I was like, no, there is an audience because I'm it's going viral on Twitter, it's going viral on TikTok. There is an audience. But eventually, I signed with my agent in August 2021. We worked on the book for a year. We went on sub to which means you go on submission to publishers, and the agent acts as like kind of like a liaison between you and the editors and publishers. September 19th, 2022. That was the longest 4 months of my entire life because we were getting hit with the same rejections that I was getting with the agents from before. It's not marketable. We don't know how to connect to this. We don't have a vision for this. So we went out to 30 editors at all the big five publishers. Simon Schuster, HarperCollins, Penguin, all the major publishers, and 28 of them said no. They turned down Blood at the Root and all said the same thing. We don't have a vision for it. We don't think it's marketable. Blase, blase. And January 19th, I finally sold it in a 3-book deal to Penguin Random House. And it came out on May 7th, 2024. It hit the New York Times. It was featured all on, Good Morning America and Kelly Clarkson and all these major shows. And, you know, apparently it was marketable. It apparently was marketable. So yeah. So that's kind of like the last step of that journey of publishing this book.
Wow. Well, for those people and we have all kinds of authors on very well established authors, debuts like yourself with major publishers,
Mhm.
people who self publish dozens of books. There's some people who
Yeah.
just self publish. They just grind. It's a grind.
It's like
They
mine, and I met so many amazing indie authors, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot about that world. So many amazing indie authors that are killing the game, and I'm just proud to see it and inspired.
Yeah, so but you sent the book to 300 agents. I didn't even know there were 300
There's a
agents.
lot of agents out there. I submitted. I mean, I wasn't strategic with my submitting. I was just submitting it to everybody. Like, hi,
Well,
read my book, read my book, read my book.
mm,
Um, it worked, you know.
yeah,
But
yeah, but it took a lot of work and
it took a lot of
persistence,
work. Absolutely.
and you have to be willing to accept rejection, like probably more rejection than you've ever had in your entire life.
Right.
Because normally, you know, it, if you apply for a job, you might get rejected there, multiples. Um, if you're trying to talk to somebody, like date somebody or whatever, you get
Hmm.
rejected. But that's a lot of rejection, though. And
Right.
you know, I'm an author. I'm self-published, and I don't like rejection. So my response to it is I write what I want to, and I
Yes.
produce it professionally. I do have a professional editor with covers and all that. But the rejection that I hear from people who trying to get an agent and then try to get, this is just like three steps, because you have to get it edited, then you get the agent, but that takes a lot of work. See, you're the first person I've heard give that number for agents.
I submitted to a lot of agents. Yeah, I saw, like I said, when I was showing that one writer my rejection, it was just, you know how your email just,
Form letter.
it,
It's just a form letter that they kick out. A form
yeah,
email that they
for an
kick.
email, it was just like blood. The title of the email would be like
Thanks, but no
seeking
thanks.
representation, blood at the root, and it was just so many of. I was like, and they were dating all the way back to 2021, and here I am in 2025 working on my third and final book of the trilogy. It's just wild.
Yeah. So your main character is Malik in all the books.
Yes, Malik Barron is the main character, a 17-year-old young black man, young black boy from Alabama. He has ancestral hoodoo magic. And he when his magic manifested on 4th of July, he thought that he killed his mother on an accident. But come to find out she mysteriously vanished. And so now he has all these questions about his magic and where did it come from, and until he meets his estranged grandmother, Mama Aya, who is a 150-year-old conjure woman in Louisiana. He just goes there to learn about his family lineage. So you go on a journey between book one and book two of this young black boy's life. Um, he's dealing with his magic, but he's also dealing with, first crushes and heartbreak and learning to go to class and family, and also being very vulnerable and tender with his younger brother, foster brother Tay. And he's just a black boy that doesn't get it right all the time. And I think, and I always make sure this is important, because even though there are not a lot of black boys in YA fantasy, black boys like Malik, his character, are held in the publishing world and in the book community. He is held to a different standard, to a higher standard than his white male counterparts. Um, and he is not allowed, if he's not palatable for certain people's taste, he's not allowed to make mistakes. But I always say it. I say it in my author's note, that he's allowed to, and he's gonna cuss, he's gonna cry, he's gonna yell and laugh. He's gonna experience the fullness of life. And I think black boys deserve to see that, and they deserve to have space for that, because it's not. And when we go out into the world, where we seeing right now, even today and yesterday, even with that young brother who tragically lost his life in Mississippi, we're not allowed to exist beyond people's you know sometimes ignorant point of view. But like, I just wanted to write a book where this black boy is unapologetic, and he is not afraid to speak his mind, but he's not afraid to be cracked open and be vulnerable in front of people. So yeah, so that's Malik. That's Malik Barron.
Now, is he a complete fictional character, or are there elements of other people that you pull a person here, a part of a person there, and
Mhm.
create like an amalgam of some people? Or
Yeah, I think Malik is a lot like if I was more if I didn't have a filter on my mouth a lot of the times when I was a kid, I think Malik was more like me. Um, we kind of grew up the same. Um, we dealt with a lot of the same things. His is more heightened because it's magic, it's fantasy. But the prologue scene was kind of like a real scene for me, and that neighborhood is real. So he comes from a background that is very real. Um, as far as like the other characters like Mama Aya, his mom, or his friends that are at school, his love interest Alexis, they're all pulled from like different people that I know. Some of them are real. The roommates that he meets in at Cayman, they're based off of my roommates that I had in college. So yeah, I pull. Some people read the book, especially people that I knew. They were like, "Really, you put that in there?" Because they know like that's part of them.
That happened when we were in school.
Yeah, yeah. So they know, but also it showcases. I'm also a playwright, and I learned from the school of August Wilson is to write real people, write human beings. I always quote this, but like Viola Davis said at her Oscar winning speech, exhume the bodies of those who lived and those who dreamed and those who died, without seeing those dreams in fruition. So I try to write real people. Even though it's a fantasy,
Right.
I try to write real people where people can crack open the book and say, oh my gosh, Mama Aya is just like my grandmother, or Malik is just like my little cousin. I hear that all the time, or I get young black men in my DMs was like, thank you for writing this because I'm Malik. I grew up in a foster care system and now I go to an HBCU, or I'm like Tay, or I'm Alexis, for the Alexis fans out there. Uh, so to write real people and to write real people, you got to get through the bad, the ugly, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, people are multidimensional. They're not
absolutely.
one dimensional.
Yeah.
And one of our regular viewers, Curtis Stevenson, said in the comments, he said, I read Blood at the Root earlier this year for my book club and loved it.
Oh.
Thank you, LaDarrion, for your storytelling. Keep doing what you do.
Thank y'all. Shout out to your book club. Thank y'all so much for supporting.
Yeah, now speaking of book clubs, have you been meeting with book clubs? Have you had any book clubs pick your book so far?
I have. One of them, it was an all black male book club, which was just so beautiful. It's one of the most memorable interactions I had with readers. Um, but yeah, I met with a couple, but like just to sit down and talk with black men who are disrupting that stereotype that black men do not read. It was just a beautiful moment to kind of just fellowship with one another over a book, that I created a few years ago that I didn't think, and speaking with there was a young black boy in that club who was on his way to college, and it's just it's just a beautiful moment. But yeah, I definitely love speaking to book clubs. I think just being that personable author, I've spoke with a lot. Yeah.
Well, that's great. Now, if you could give, well, first let me go back a little bit. We have gotten a lot of feedback over the years. Um, and I mentioned this at the top of the show. Last week we celebrated our 800th guest. We've had
Oh,
800. We've interviewed 800 different people.
oh, that's a
Not
lot of
interviews,
people.
800 different individuals, and the show's 5 years old. But we've had a lot of people ask about books for Black boys, books where there's a positive, multidimensional Black male character. So
Mhm,
they can, because in order to develop the love for reading, it's very helpful if you
mhm.
read. Not every book is going to have somebody you can relate to, but it's good to have some choices.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the reason why I quit reading after high school was because I couldn't find a lot of books where I was, where the main character was a black boy. Um, And I think a lot of schools, I tell a lot of educators in schools this, you have to put it in front of them, and you have to expose them. I was exposed to Lorraine Hansberry and August Wilson at 16 and 17 years old, and it changed my entire life. It made me the artist that I am today. With Blood at the Root, with this entire series, that's why I wanted to put a black boy on the cover. So when young black boys walk into that room, or young black men, they walk into those libraries or those bookstores, and they see Malik on the cover, they're like, oh, like this is a dark-skinned young black boy, like with a hoodie on. Like that imagery is very, very important. It's very
Yeah,
powerful.
it
And
is.
it
It is.
gets it literally, it could sway the minds of folks to believe that they can, that they too can have adventures and stories told about them. So that's why it was very important for me to put a black boy on both covers, and all three covers, which I can't wait to reveal. Um, to put all, to put a black boy on all three covers, to say this is his story only, and he is the at the focal point. um and I've heard that. I've heard from parents say they walked into the bookstore and they saw Blood at Through, they're like, oh, he looks just like my son, let me buy this book, because imagery is very, very powerful. And
Right.
yeah, that's why that was my non-negotiable, is to put a black boy on the cover.
Well, it's good that you had a non-negotiable, because it is negotiation when you're doing a deal with these big publishing. And a lot
Absolutely.
of times they feel like they know everything about everything. They know best. And
Right.
so, but that's really great that you were able to do that. And congratulations on the success of your series.
Thank you.
And for those who want to know about Blood at the Root and Bone, I keep wanting to
Oh
call it
no, Bones at the
Blood,
Crossroads. Yep, that's
but it's
right.
Bones at the Crossroads. I keep wanting to call it Blood at the Crossroads. Um, Tell them where they can find your book, and tell them how they can connect with you on social media.
Absolutely. You can find both Blood at the Root and Bones at the Crossroads. Blood at the Root is the only one that is in paperback, but they're all in paperback, hardcover, Kindle, and audiobooks. You can find them at wherever books are sold, Barnes and Noble, Books a Million, Walmart, well, we're not, a lot of us are not supporting Target, but they're there. Also, Amazon. If you want to support, please go support indie bookstores, y'all, especially Black indie bookstores. Please, please, please go support. I've just signed fresh copies of Blood at the Root and Bones at the Crossroads at Mahogany Books in Washington, D.C., and there's some at Malik Books here in L.A. And you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, because I keep forgetting that one, and TikTok at It's LaDarrion, on all platforms. Please follow me. I update people regularly, and I, show cool behind the scenes of writing the book. So please go follow me. But yeah, please support the book, because we need y'all. We need people to pull up and support books, because numbers matter, sales matter, and that helps us Black authors to continue to write these stories for y'all. So please, please, please support these books.
Okay, well, thank you so much, LaDarrion, for being a guest on Black Authors Matter TV. Congratulations again on your book series, and thank you for writing books that feature young Black men in a fantasy world.
Thank you.
It's because we need to be in all the worlds.
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely.
All right,
Thank
well, have a great night.
you too, and congratulations on everything.
Oh, well, thank you.
No
Thank you.
problem.
It's a labor of love. I'm sorry my co-host wasn't here yet. She's late. She's running late. So,
Oh, no problem. Tell her what's up, and y'all
okay.
have a good one. Good
All right. Good night.
night.
Okay, that was LaDarrion Williams, and he's a young man who's writing fantasy featuring young Black male characters. So, as his main character. So now, we're going to bring on our next guest. And I'll do the book giveaway after this interview. Uh, the book that we have to give away. But Zina Francis, this young lady, is a children's author, and she also was a finalist for the Black Authors Matter Children's Book Awards. in I forgot which category she was in. I think you might have been in two categories, but I don't have it in front of me. So you can mention, I'm sure she remembers what categories it was. So, uh, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV. And make sure you unmute so we can hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes. Thank you for being a guest on the show.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, then your book was a finalist. I think it was in Best Illustrator. Is that right?
Yes,
And
Best
then
Illustrator.
what other category? Religious
And then,
faith?
yes,
Okay.
Religious faith. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. And is this your first children's book?
Yes, it is my first children's book.
Okay.
Of many to come, though.
Okay. Is it your first book?
Yes, ma'am. It is my first book.
Okay. So that must have been exciting to have your first book competing.
Yeah, it was very exciting.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying the journey, learning a lot. Just want to get the message out there in the word, to people and children on dealing with grief in this book here. But then there, others that God have sown into me that will be coming soon.
Okay, so your book title is Fly Away. We can see it behind you, but do you have a copy you can put closer to the screen? It's called Fly Away.
It's called Fly Away. Yes.
And you have the little girl with the butterfly. Is it a bird or butterfly? I can't remember.
Well, it's the little girl holding the butterfly, and
okay.
The butterfly transforms into a dove.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yes.
During the judging session, it got a lot of attention. So my co-host is joining us now, and Dr. Rhonda, she's on with me. So this is Zina Francis. She was our second guest for tonight.
Hi, Zina. How are you tonight?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm great. Sorry, I'm late. Today's my mom's 75th birthday, so we took her out to dinner tonight. So yeah, so I tried to make it back on time, but you can't rush mom.
Yeah,
no, you cannot. No, you cannot.
Did tell everybody that why you were running late. So, and I said happy birthday to your mom. So,
same here. Happy birthday to your mom.
Thank you.
Yeah, I tell everybody hug your mothers as much as you can because I lost my mother 23 years ago. I miss her all the time, and they're irreplaceable.
For sure.
In your life, you get one mama, and that's it.
That's it.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah, and so people who like have beef with their moms or whatever, I'm like, you just don't realize your mama's not going to be here all the time. That's correct. And that leads us back to your book, Zina. Mm-hmm. So you said your book is about grief at a child's perspective.
Correct.
Now, what made you use that as a subject? Did something happen with you personally that made you feel like you needed to put in a children's book?
Well, the book, first of all, like we're talking about moms, is dedicated in memory of my mom. I lost my mom in 2012, so it's been 13 years. So I had, my own experiences with grief, but the ministry that produced this book was while I was serving as children's church pastor at Above and Beyond Fellowship in Houston, Texas. We noticed that when people died, everyone was going to see about adults. No one was going to see about the children. And so God deposited that ministry in me at that time. So myself and my team, we would, reach out to the parents in that moment to see, if they wanted us to come over and talk to the kids and, minister to them. And then we would give them little bears, because children need something to hold on to. We all need something to hold on to in that season of grief. And so we would give them the bears to hold on to, you know, on this journey of learning how to live without someone that they love. And like I say, children are left pretty much to figure it out, you know, because the adults are all emotional, you know, everybody's seeing to the adults, but then the children are just sitting there like, what's going on? You know, so that was the inspiration for me writing the book. It was birthed out of a ministry.
I've heard about Above and Beyond. I'm in Houston too, so
Mm-hmm.
I've never been there, but I've heard about them, and I've heard good things about them. So the church.
Yes,
So
yes,
so you are in the children's ministry at Above and Beyond.
yes, yes. I was for 17 years. I served there as either children's director or the children's church pastor in my last capacity there. Yes.
Okay, yeah, that takes a certain you have to really be, that's a calling.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, you
That's
to
my passion,
build.
children. Yeah.
You have to have a passion for that because that's not a lane that I can travel in. I'll just put it like that.
Not everybody
No,
can. Yes,
no,
ma'am.
I don't. I'm old school and I don't have patience for some of the changes that have happened. I just can't,
Uh-huh.
and so I'm in the choir. I love singing, and that's where I minister and
Mm-hmm.
song. So, but God bless the people and there's some people you can tell it's something that it's just in their heart. The people who work in like the
Yes.
children's ministry at our church, they just have a heart for it,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and they do it for years. And I'm at Fallbrook, and
Mm-hmm.
for example, we have our vacation Bible school. We might have 1,000 kids that come through our vacation Bible school in the summer. And then on that Sunday after the week of vacation Bible school, the children sing. Well, normally we have a couple of hundred kids on stage singing, performing, and
Mm-hmm.
of all ages. The little babies are on the bottom, and they don't really know what's going on, but they do try to sing the songs. But it's amazing. They invest
Yeah.
a lot in the youth, and it
Oh,
is
yes.
an investment.
Oh, yes, it is. I would tell people all the time, we're sowing seeds into the lives of these children. We may not see the fruits, but just know that when you sow seeds into good soil, you will reap a harvest. That's what the Bible says. What farmer plants a seed and doesn't expect a harvest? So every time you have an encounter with these kids, it should be an expectation that you're going to receive a harvest.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
to train up a child, it doesn't say it's only for parents.
Correct.
That's where the village comes in.
Exactly. Yes,
And
ma'am.
my dad was a pastor, so I'm a PK. And the
So was my
people,
grandfather.
okay, the people I grew up with that were Sunday school teachers and all of that, they were sewing into us kids, and they really helped or part of shaping my life. I
Exactly.
never forget them. As long as I live, they were just committed. And I spent a lot of time at church because my dad was a
Hmm.
pastor. So,
Same here.
you know. So tell us a little bit about the story in Fly Away.
Okay. The story is about a little girl who loved going to her grandmother's for the summers and just being at her grandmother's house. And that came from my childhood, loving being at my grandmother's, because we had the village. And
Mhm.
so you know, the cooking, I grew up cooking. So these kids love baking cookies and everything with their grandmother. And to the two children are reminiscent of my two children. The little girl on the front, the inspiration for her is my daughter, Amber. But the little girl, she would spend time with her grandmother, and then the grandmother died, and she could not understand. She heard her mom crying, And so she went in to see what was going on. And the little girl said, the mom said, Mama's gone. And the little girl was like, no, Mama, you're here. Because again, it's a child trying to wrap their head around. But the woman was talking about her mama, and the child was saying, no, Mama, you're here. And then she said that, your grandmother died, but she remembered all of the memories that she had with her grandmother, the spending time with her. And she just knew she would not experience that anymore. And so when she, started crying to console her mom and to deal with her own grief as well with the loss of her grandmother. But on that night, her grandmother appeared to her in spirit form and let her know that she was okay. And the little girl said that that gave her peace. And so she was able to go to sleep and have peace now. But also she remembered all of the things that her grandmother had told her, because her grandmother had told her about Jesus and had told her, that he would always be with her. And so that's what the story is all about. Even when the butterfly, I just love butterflies. And so the young girl, that's what I'm saying, when writing the book, the butterfly, and of course you'll see purple. It's my favorite color too. But yeah, the young girl realized when she looked at the butterfly, because that's what her and her grandmother used to do, sit in on the porch and watch the butterflies, but they would fly away. And she would always ask her grandmother, where are they going? And her grandmother told her, only God knows where they're going. And so after that, when in the end, when she buried her grandmother, that's when the butterfly appeared again on her grandmother's headstone. And she said it felt like the butterfly looked her directly in the eye, and it gave her comfort again. And then it flew away. And she remembered what her grandmother had told her, that only God knew, and that she would be okay. And so inside the book as well, I wrote a poem, because during my ministry, I had one of my ministry sisters had passed, and I acknowledge her in the book, Miss Sylvia Perry. During that season, when she had transitioned, but to me, it's like she was telling me in that poem, because I gave that poem to her grandchildren at the time of giving them their bears during her loss. And it was like she was telling me just to let them kids know I'm okay. I went to be with Jesus and I'm okay. And so I was able to, write that and incorporate that in the book as well. And one thing the mother did tell me, because I would check on the family, she was like, Miss Zina, those bears meant so much to those children. It brought them so much comfort, because she said, they went to sleep with those bears. You just never know what, again, the sowing of the seeds and what we're bringing into children's lives. And we just need to let them know that it's okay to cry. It's okay to feel sad, and that you're not alone, because God promised. And we have to teach them from young the scriptures, that God promised to give you a peace that will pass all understanding.
Yes.
You may not understand what's going on at that moment, but you will say to yourself, I don't know how I made it. And that's that peace that God will give you in that situation. So again, you'll see the word hope here. That's the gist of the book. I wanted to give children hope in the midst of one of the darkest times in their lives, and just let them know that God is there with them always.
Do you feel that sometimes maybe adults don't want to talk to kids the way you're speaking right now? the kids need this, but adults sometimes discount the kids and say they're too young to understand, or I
Understand?
don't want to put this burden on them. And then they never learn how to deal with the feelings that they might be going through.
Yes. And I also feel that death is something that people don't want to talk about at all.
Right.
We don't deal with death until it happens. But if we had a understanding, and I don't know that you would ever get a full grasp of it, because when death does happen, there the situation, how it happened, all of that, it affects how you process it and how you deal with it. And everybody's going to deal with it differently, but we need to talk about death, but we don't until it happens. And yes, they do say, oh, they don't understand, uh, don't. And that's why I said earlier, it's like the kids are left to figure it out because the adults have so much that they're dealing with because they haven't dealt with their own or dealt with their own grief themselves.
Yeah, well, a lot of times, well, depending on how the death occurs, but if it's from an illness and it's been kind of a gradual situation, you don't necessarily want to speak death. You know what I mean? Into the situation, you really are hoping
Of course,
that it
hope.
won't, unless the person is really suffering.
Right.
Sometimes people are really suffering, and so in those cases. But then if it's from an accident or something completely unexpected, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where it's shocking, then
Yes.
that's a I guess that's why people don't really talk about it, because it's almost like, are you speaking it? It's like life and death is in the power of the tongue, so if you want
Correct.
to speak life, or do you want to speak death? Even if it's from an illness, it can still be sudden within the illness itself. The person can appear to be weathering it, and then all of a sudden it
Mm-hmm.
takes a turn. So
Correct.
in either way, I've experienced, three in my immediate family: my mother, my father, my brother, and it was all three of them were illnesses. But
Mm-hmm.
uh, my father had COVID, and so they told us he was transitioning. So we kind of had a chance to get used to the idea before, a few days before it happened. But with my mother and my brother, it was sudden. It was shocking, sudden. So either way, it's part of life. And I
Yeah,
like
it
that
definitely.
um you got the idea from actually ministering to children
Mm-hmm.
during the time of grief.
Yes. And grief, you have different, I know over my lifetime, I've experienced death. The first one, I was mad with God because
Mm.
he had taken away someone that I love. But as I've grown spiritually, you grow and then you learn that there is hope after the death for believers,
Mm-hmm.
because the scripture tells us to be absent from the body is to be
It's to
present
be
with God.
present.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Yeah.
if you're a believer, you have hope,
Mm-hmm. That's true.
so if we're talking about it in that aspect with children and teaching them that, knowing that, none of us are built to last. But
Mm-hmm.
when that time does come and you don't see me anymore, like the
Mm-hmm.
old folks say, I'll be up yonder singing, you know, singing them praises up there, because that's the hope that God gives us if we believe in Jesus Christ, that you will see that person again.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that takes, I mean, that's kind of an advanced concept sometimes for kids to wrap their minds around.
Right.
So how do the kids that you've worked with, how do they normally process something like that?
Well, the kids that I have dealt with in that process, they're children. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they hurt, they cry because they know they're not gonna see their loved ones anymore. So, like I said, we just gave them something to hold on to, some and just gave them words of encouragement, along the journey.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's what we did for our kids. Now, I myself currently am about to become a facilitator at a grief, not a counseling, a safe place for, to help families deal with grief. So I'm excited about that journey because that's gonna, expand my, I guess, connection and exposure to dealing with children. Because again, these were children I knew. Now, in this new phase I'm going in, it's going to be complete strangers that I'm going to find out their, whatever their loved one was. But what I've learned is that the process is still the same. We want them to remember that their loved one that they lost and not forget, because a lot of times you don't want to talk about them because it hurts so bad, but in remembering them you honor them, but those are things that need to be taught, and talked about, so they'll know it's okay. We used to celebrate the birthday, but they're not here anymore. Should we not? Yes, we should honor them and never forget them. Speak their name.
I agree with that. There was not so much now, but a few years back, I want to say maybe 10, 20 years, there was in the body of Christ, there was this thought the some were espousing that if you cry when your loved one passes, that you're not in faith or
In
something.
faith.
Yeah, I'm like,
That's a
okay.
sad thought.
It is. I mean, if somebody is special to you and they're not here, you're here. You're
Yeah,
gonna cry.
exactly.
And I
I
said,
mean,
What's
my
the
don't we
shortest?
cry
deserve
if
tears.
somebody comes to visit and they go and they leave? Don't we cry because
Right.
they're gone and we feel bad that they're gone? It doesn't mean that we don't have faith that we won't see them again. We just miss them.
You
Yes,
miss them. I
yes.
mean, you look in the Bible, Jesus
It's just
wept, the
wet.
shortest verse in the Bible.
Right.
Jesus wept. And
Yes.
he wept over his friend Lazarus that had died.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a part of nature. So if Jesus cries and he loved his friend, so why can't we cry? It's a natural emotion.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't hear that now as much, but a few years back, did you all hear that? Like it was like in some churches, some settings, people were saying that, um, and it was more in some of the non-denominational churches.
Mhm.
Anyway, I just leave it there. But it was a thought, like people were espousing that if you
Mhm.
cry and your loved one passes, that you are not in faith, or you're not doing, somehow you're making an error from a spiritual standpoint. So anyway, I think that's stupid.
And untrue.
Not practical. It's just not
It's
human. It's not human how human
human.
beings are built. We're built
Exactly.
to be sad and have a
Correct.
range of emotions.
Correct.
And
Right.
so Zina, show us your book cover close up one more time.
Okay.
Children's
There's a
book,
prop. Here, you
Fly Away. It's
fly
beautiful.
away. And what I want to also share with you is, I know you had asked me about where they can get my book from. I have an online bookstore
Okay.
called
Okay.
Nook Books by Z.net, and they can get it. And what I have on there also is what we call a bundle of hope. It's a bag where they will get the book and the bear. And we have a chocolate one, and then we have a beige one. So they can choose whichever bear they want. Because again, we want to give these kids something in their hands to hold on to. And I've gotten so many encouraging stories about the book. I even had a lady that read my book at my chiropractor. His wife read my book, and when I came back, she was crying, and we started talking. So I was able to minister to her. But she told me that that book, and this is a children's book, she said that book blessed her and that it made her think about her mother, because she said her mother had died 12 years ago, and this was the first time she had truly cried with someone about losing her mother. So
Wow.
the impact of it, God is all there. And I said, well, Lord, it's completing the mission for which it was sent out to bless people, because there are adults that can read this. It says it's a children's book, but there's a little kid inside of each one of us that may have never dealt with the loss of of losing a loved one, the hurt, the grief, and that will move them hopefully to have hope as well.
Right.
Well, thank you so much for producing a book that had some impact on people at their most vulnerable time,
Yes,
including
absolutely.
children. And
Yeah.
congratulations on
Thank
being
you
a
so
finalist
much.
for the book awards.
Yes, I'm excited, and thank you all for the platform to get my message out of hope to children and just anybody who will pick this book up and read it. My prayer is that God will speak to their hearts and comfort any brokenness that exists.
Okay. Well, have a
Beautiful.
great night, Zina, and thank you for being a guest on the show.
All righty, thank you so much for having me. Bye-bye.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Have a
Bye-bye.
great one.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so we're going to give away our book that we didn't get to give away uh, when Dr. Ian Smith was on the show because his interview was short and then we just weren't able to do it. So Dr. Ian Smith he writes health books and he also writes thrillers. And so this is a series, I think it's book 4 or 5 in the series. This is the latest installment called Beyond Midnight. And so the trivia question for this book is the body of the story's victim. So there's a victim in the story. His name is Joaquin Escobar. His body was found in what well-known body of water? So if you get the answer to the question, we'll send you a copy of Dr. Smith's book. So, and Rhonda's going to put it in the chat so that you can respond to the trivia question. So our next guest has been on the show before. He writes in 2 different lanes. He writes he's got like a double memoir, which was like a part 1 and a part 2. But he also writes fiction. So tonight we're going to talk more about his fiction work because when he was on the show last, about 6 months ago, he talked more about his memoir. And so Harold Phifer is joining us Harold is overseas somewhere. So he joins us from wherever he's located. And he normally will tell us where he is. So I think he was either in Iraq or Afghanistan or somewhere. So where are you now? Where are you tonight, Harold?
Where in the world is Carmen San Diego?
Right, right. It's a little small island. It's called Ascension Island.
Well, that sounds
And
nice.
yes, It's okay. It's okay. It's out of way place. It's actually between Brazil and I want to say Angola,
Oh,
Africa.
okay.
So it's
Okay.
Nice.
like yeah.
Okay. So are
But
you
that's where I am
doing
now.
work or vacation?
Oh, work.
Oh, so you get to go to exotic places for work. That must be fun. Okay, so
Kind of.
so what time is it?
Occasionally.
Yeah, what day and time is it where you are?
It's the 17th and it's Wednesday morning at about 1:05 in the morning.
Oh, okay. So you're what? See, that's like five hours ahead of us.
About right.
Okay. So you stayed up just for us. Thank you so much. And you don't look
Request.
like you don't look like you like getting ready to fall asleep. So we appreciate being alert and smiling and all of that on the island where you are. So welcome back to the show. And you write under your own name for your nonfiction work. And then for your fiction work, you
Right.
have a pseudonym. It is Dean Conan. So show us both of the books that you have right now, or do you still have two, or do you
Uh,
release another book since
I
then,
don't have
or do you don't have your books with you? You have that book with you.
I don't have Dean.
You don't have
Right,
Conan
right.
with you. Okay.
Oh,
All right. Well, you can
right.
still tell us about it, and then we
Yeah,
can still hear about the book that you showed. But tell us about your fiction series and Dean Conan. And why did you pick Dean Conan as your name? Did you just like pull it out of like the air? Like, okay, what can I do? What can I call myself?
Yeah,
I know.
my
Or how did you come up with that name for your pseudonym?
now, my my younger brother, middle name is Dean, and
Okay.
so put that in Conan. I thought a little bit catchy, yeah. So just like I said, pretty much pull it out,
Okay.
and you're right. But and I want to separate my fiction from nonfiction, so I figure I just write on a different name. Yeah.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
that makes
a lot
sense.
of people do
yeah,
that. But some people don't.
mhm,
Some people just they write under the same name for everything.
I do.
right.
Me too. Me too. I'm Gwen Richardson,
I
whatever.
understand. I
Whatever is
understand.
said is me. And that's
Yes.
I don't know if I would want to be another name, but I do understand why some people do it. Sometimes it's your audience. Some authors say their audience just couldn't accept that they were writing erotic
Right.
after they had written Christian fiction.
Right. Right.
Right. No, and
Uh,
that makes sense. If you're in two basically competing genres, you
right.
want
Or
to make
completely
sure
opposite.
that
Right.
you don't want to confuse people.
Hmm.
Right. Mhm. So
Right.
tell us about your character in your books. Your first book, for Dean Conan, is
Yeah.
the first title is
Charlie Moses,
what's
the,
the title of the first book and the
the
title of the
first,
second book?
yeah, the first one is Fool Me Thrice, Money Changes Everything.
Okay.
And the second, and that was Dean Conan. The second under Dean Conan is the sequel, A Fool Indeed.
Okay.
And was the character. Parent was dad was a funeral director. They got killed and left him with a lot of money. Well, he was irresponsible, womanizer, and all that. So he blew all the money chasing thoughts and gold diggers and all of that. And so once he blew all the money, he needed a job. So he ended up getting a job as a working at the sanitation department. So while there, he meet this guy named Tin Can who kind of mentored him, kind of like another father. And he ended up falling in love with Tin Can's daughter. Long story short, Tin Can seemed to be a little crooked, beat him out some money in the end, and he didn't end up marrying the daughter, but he married his childhood sweetheart. I probably shouldn't tell all of that. But anyway, so so then we get back to A Fool Indeed, which is he's happily married, a better man than where he started in Fool Me Thrice, but he can't get past the guy took his money, took it, like about $1 million. So he can't get over it. So he's trying to
Okay.
go back and recoup his money.
Okay.
And
So
in
the
the
second
process,
book is about revenge.
right, about revenge. And it get worse and worse and worse. So,
Okay.
yeah. And almost, pretty much blow his marriage and all that, chasing revenge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you write, and I ask people this who write fiction and nonfiction, or in your case, it's a
Mhm.
memoir, part 1 and 2. But when you decided to write fiction, uh, since you hadn't written it before, I assume, how did you
Right.
approach the just the setting and the characters and the situation and the theme in your fiction work? What
You
made
guys kind
you
of lucky
come?
because both books are based out
Both books are based on.
of, both, they're based in Houston. So, okay.
Oh, okay. All
I
right.
lived in Houston, 2000, 2000 to '06. Then I moved down again about 2011 for about 2 or 3 years. And then now, not really live in Dallas.
Okay.
So, but the books are based out of Houston.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. That's
Um, I got you. But anyway, I guess I kind of always wanted to do something like the series itself is called the Food Goals Chronicle. I guess I always wanted to do something like that. And the nonfiction just I guess was the better timing, I guess. But then once I did it, I was like, well, I got some place I did a 180 and wrote, Fool Me Thrice by Dean Conan. And totally different, almost erotica. Close.
Almost erotic.
oh,
Pretty,
almost. Okay.
I mean, some of it is, to be honest, but not through and through. But it's more a lot of uh, innuendos, a lot of that,
Okay.
some wild situation. But
So
anyway,
your characters are
so
being human.
there you go. Well, wildly human, And I tell guys that, not too many guys have read that I know, but I say it's kind of man idea of romance.
Mm,
And what I mean by that, we have a warped sense of romance. We have a warped, kind of got that, I want to say dog nature, just fit there, I'm going after it. That was Charlie Moe. That was,
okay.
and it came back, and it keeps coming back to bite him, you know. He's trying to go straight, and then all of a sudden somebody, hey, you remember me? And you remember when we did this? And, you know, how'd you leave me? All that. So it keeps coming. A lot of his girlfriends or ex bots or ex whatever keep coming back to bite him in the butt.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think women's idea of romance and a man's are
They're
not,
two different things.
they're not the same.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
people say
And
women are more like an oven and men are more like a microwave. And yeah, but women think of something well thought out, elaborate, and you know, sometimes men's imaginations just don't go there where a woman is thinking it should.
right.
But that's what makes us different. Because men, their idea is how can I be tasteful, Rhonda? Uh
They think it's getting physical.
They hit it. That's romance.
I said getting physical.
Right.
You said hit it. I was the one who kept it tasteful.
And most of it is that most of that fear of missing out.
We're missing out.
There, I get it. She's here, I can't let it go. I can't, pass it up, whatever. It's that fear of missing out, and it is more evident in the um Fool's Gold Chronicle. I mean, except after he's getting married, he's a different guy. But in Fool Me Thrice, it just want him, sex, want him. And then, it flips in A Fool Indeed. It's not him, it's actually one of his best buddies. But his old history keep coming back to bite him still.
Okay. Now, what gave you the confidence when you made the switch? Well, to write fiction. Well, and do you read a lot of fiction yourself?
Not a lot, but I just kind of felt I had that story. And my brother was, one of those nice looking guys. So so he had a lot of girlfriends. And he had friends who were what y'all would say pretty boys. So I got to be around them and I saw all
Pretty
the
Ricky,
house
what they
girls,
call them.
Huh?
Yeah, there you
What did
go.
you say, Ron?
Oh.
I missed what you said. What did you say?
They're Pretty Ricky, what they call them.
Pretty Ricky, right. So, so, so I got to be around a lot of pretty Rickies and I got to see them, work their magic. And
Mm.
so I just took what I learned, been around it, and let my imagination run wild and wrote the book. Because people ask me, is that you? No, that's not me.
Well, it didn't seem
But
like
I
you
know
had
some
a
stuff.
lot of imagination from what you're describing. You were just writing what was happening and changing the names of
Right.
people to protect the innocent or the guilty, whichever.
Hmm.
I
But
won't say, I confess that
not
I
as a
don't know of
confessional.
all the
Like a
situations.
confessional.
No, I
Okay.
mean,
Okay. What do you what do you
Ms.
confess?
Gwen, Ms. Gwen, I don't know all
Our
the
ears are
situation
open.
or
We're here to listen.
We listen and we don't judge.
but but I'm saying, it's fiction, so I just embellish and project it probably how it went or how
Well, that's the
it would
fun part
happen. I
about
mean,
writing fiction is you can take the story anywhere you want to go.
there you
Yeah,
go.
you can. You can hold back from true events, or you can embellish the true event.
Right,
You know,
right.
uh, you can take a story or a situation and take it to an extreme. A lot of times that's a recipe for a good storyline, for good writing.
So I put a lot of those together and probably what the reaction would be and just kept building and building. All right, okay, moving on, building another one. And had some fun with it. I won't lie. I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, your covers are very nice, and that's why I
Yeah.
wanted you to show them. Uh,
Okay.
if you have them on your computer, you can. I have a shared screen set up where you can share the covers because I would like people to see the covers so when they go to purchase the book, then they will know that they have the
Right.
correct books, and the covers are very attractive.
Okay. Wow. You hit me there. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Appreciate it. Let's see. Let's see.
And a hush fell over the room.
Yeah. And I probably got 'em on my
Well, I could. Well, Rhonda's probably better at it than me, but
Let's see. How do I share this?
she you can put it up on Amazon.
Oh yeah, okay.
You could do it like that, or because I'm not good at screen sharing. I'm good at letting people in, but not good at doing it. So,
you're allowing other people to share, aren't you?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if you click on share, and then there are going to be multiple screens that come up, click on the one that is displaying whatever it is that you want to display.
Go share. Where was that in?
It's at the bottom. It should be at the bottom
Yeah.
of your screen. It's a share button.
The share button is green.
Y'all got a guy who's not this good at what he's doing.
Or just put the link in the chat and I'll share it.
Yeah. Yeah. Do it like that. So if you can put the link in the comments, then Rhonda can share it.
Okay. Okay.
Or Rhonda, if you can pull it up on Amazon on your computer on another browser, do you think you
Well,
can do
I looked that up on Amazon, but all I found was Harold. It's under the other name, so I have
it?
to.
It's under Dean Conan.
Dean Conan, yeah.
His pen name.
Okay, let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Dean, spell that last name.
It's Conan.
Conan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I shall share it.
Okay. Thank you.
A Fool Indeed?
Yeah, that was the second one. That's part 2.
Which one do you want to show us? Yeah, that's the second one.
Mm-hmm. Fool Me Thrice.
First one is Fool Me Thrice.
See, I know
that's the one. I mean, all I'm seeing right now
Right.
is the. Hold on, I'm gonna do it this way. Stay tuned, folks. We got this.
Thank you all for
Okay, here we go.
Okay, all right.
I found it.
Okay, so this is the cover for A Fool Indeed.
Yeah.
Which is part 2. And part 1, did you find a
Right.
Yeah, I'm sharing it right now.
Okay. And he
Can you
did
see it?
Yeah, there it is. So he did blue on Fool Me Thrice, and then
Right.
red on A Fool Indeed.
Yeah, this is a very nice cover, by the way.
Yeah, it's a very
I like
nice
the cover. I like the city in the background. I
Mhm.
like how you can't exactly see the character's face on the front.
Yeah.
So we can picture him to be anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You sure can.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then here's the Fool Indeed, as you said, it's in red.
And he did the same thing. He showed a partial face.
Right.
And he's holding the drink. In the first one, he is doing his cuff, touching his cuff on his shirt, which to me implies that he's very vain about the way he dresses and all that.
Yeah.
Very conscious about his look.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I thought the covers are very good, and you have a good rating too. You have a good review rating, so that's always good.
Yeah. People that read them, they love the book. So, and then I guess thinking back at Fool Indeed, maybe I should have saved some of that till they get in the middle of it. But some people don't like the way it starts, and some people, okay. So, can't please them all, but it's a good book.
I was just about to say something. The best you can do is just write a great book, because people are always going to have something to say.
Right.
Yeah, and people will say, why didn't your character do X, or why didn't they do Y? Because I didn't want them to. That's my answer.
Right.
If I wanted them to do that, they would have done it. So, it's my book. I wrote it, and it's my story, and I'm going to tell it the way I want to tell it. But, because you have in your mind what you want, your story to how you wanted to
Exactly.
unfold, how you wanted to start, how you wanted to progress, and how you wanted to end. So
Right.
that's for you to decide. And so hopefully the readers will enjoy it. And at least I always say, at least let your book have an ending. It doesn't have to be like, I hate books that end where it's obvious that the person is trying to give you a cliffhanger for a sequel, where it's like it ends like right in the middle of a sentence almost. So where
Yeah.
it's
Right.
it's not really it. You can still wrap up a story and still leave a semi cliffhanger for another part. So
That's true.
now you had shown and Rhonda, you can unshare the cover now because
I'm not, that's you sharing.
it's not me. I didn't do anything.
Oh, that must be Harold sharing then.
Okay.
That's not me.
Okay.
That's
So
okay.
okay, there you go, Harold. You did it. All right.
There you go.
Okay. So you had your other book that you showed at the beginning of, when we first came on,
Right.
and that one is show that one. That's about your aunt. Uh, well, it's like a
Right.
memoir part
I
two.
believe my
I bully my aunt and her final gift, and
right.
that one is, from what I saw, is getting some good traction.
Hmm.
It's doing fairly well. Doing fairly well.
It's
Still got high hope for it.
yeah, it's getting a lot of attention. I think the cover and the title are intriguing. You know, it makes people wonder what it's about.
Right.
So, give us a wrap up of that book. Your first book was more about your relationship with your mother, who who was schizophrenic,
Right.
but then your aunt
Right.
also had issues. So, that you
Yeah,
said,
she me
you
what I
said it, not me. I didn't know it. You said it. So, what is the book about? The one with my bully, my aunt, and her final gift.
my aunt was oh man, she was more than just being dominant. She was a bully and she also in the curly years, my brother light skinned. So she wanted to kind of be his mom or be his guardian mom. And she didn't want me or no one else around. But she was mean and bitter old lady anyway. So I mean, even she would come by, when we moved out, she would come by and throw my mom boyfriends out, in the middle of the morning or at night, whenever she came by. She was that kind of person. And but in the original book, she was like the antagonist, and people kept asking me about her, like she can't be like that. And I'm like, oh yes, you can. And I realized, why don't you just write a book about her? And that's how it happened. And I try not, I like entertaining, so I try to keep it lighthearted. I try not to, I throw the drama in there, but I try to show you how funny and silly her zany stuff she said that was just undeniable funny, undeniable weird. And that's what that book is. It's weird, it's funny. And even though, like I said, in her death, and I ain't gonna tell it all, but her weirdness in her death kind of brought me and my brothers back together. So that's kind of telling how it kind of goes at the end. But until then, it's a build up. It's enough to split your side, as they say. Mm.
Now, you have had some very uh, interesting, I'll use that word, people in your life,
Yeah.
and yet you seem mostly normal. So, how did you,
Mostly.
She said mostly normal.
I like to think so.
I had to say it like that. So,
I
um,
got you.
how did you not, um,
I
become
know.
bitter and angry yourself after
I,
just
I was.
experienced and have
Yeah, I
described?
was.
Okay.
I
So,
wasn't ready. It probably most of my 20s.
okay,
I mean, I was even in childhood. I think I kind of worked it out in my 20s,
okay.
but it wasn't easy. And I tell people that I was jealous of my older brother. I felt kind of a misfit. Felt kind of like I didn't belong. Kind of. I had to work out some issues. I'll admit, and I was always decent looking, so I had girlfriends, but I was a mess to deal with. People that I know, I apologize because I was a mess to deal with, and it was because of the people I grew up around, the people that raised me. Yeah.
Hmm.
So it took some work. I mean, I guess falling on my face and realizing it was me.
Mm.
Well,
I like to,
that's something to be said, something to be proud of, because not everybody's able to get past that kind of experience that you had, especially, with your mom being schizophrenic and what you had described about that. Because normally, and we talked about this in the previous segment, your mother is normally your last refuge from the world, from the time you're born until they leave, it. So, um, when your mom doesn't play that kind of a role, then that that has to be painful. I can't
it left a
imagine it.
hole.
Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
imagine it. But I know that a lot of people do have challenging relationships with their parents, and yeah, you have to. They're human. The parents are human, and so you just have to, uh, give it to God, and try to work it out and get past it, and then treat people like you want to be treated in the final analysis. So,
Yeah.
Harold, thank you for being a guest again on the show.
Okay.
Congratulations on having 4 books now. When you first came on a few years ago, you only had the one book. So,
Right. You've moved on. You've been killing it.
yeah,
It's nice
I'm
that,
working
with
at
all
it.
the traveling and working that you're doing, that you're still taking time for your passion.
Right. Yeah. It's fun. It takes some work. I'm sure you ladies know it takes some work. You start writing books. You're trying to get them off the shelf, and it takes some work, but it's a joy to write them, though. The marketing part is hard.
Oh, yeah, it
Yeah.
absolutely is.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, have a great night, Harold, and we'll see you next time.
Okay. All right, Miss Gwen. All right, Miss Rhonda. Y'all take care now.
Are
You
you too?
too.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye bye. Okay, well, do we have a winner for the book?
Yes, we absolutely do have a winner.
Okay.
And the winner was, I believe it. Yep, it was Curtis.
Okay, Curtis again.
The answer was Lake Michigan.
Okay, it was Lake Michigan was the answer. That's where the body was found in the book. So the Dr. Ian is from Chicago and spends a lot of time there. And so his setting for his books is in Chicago. So I ordered the book one in this because I think you told me you read book one, The Unspoken, Rhonda.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, I have it now. So it's on my to be read, in my to be read bookcase. Because I don't just have a shelf, I have a whole bookcase. So our final guest is so Curtis, your book will be on its way to you this week by the end of the week. And so our final guest is Lester Patrick. He he was on the show a few months ago for his and talked about his book Inspirational Moments. But tonight he's talking about his second book, which is um, it's a different topic, and I don't have it right in front of me right now. So I'll let Lester tell us, and then also show. Oh, it's his memoir. That's right. So Lester, welcome back to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you. Thank you again for the invitation.
And
And
you're
thank you
you're
for
Okay.
being
joining
here.
us from California,
Are
right?
you able to hear me? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Mhm. Yeah, you're joining us from California, I believe.
That is
Uh,
correct.
and yeah, our
Is that
first
your real background? Are you out there? Are
Uh,
you out there next to the water in the cabanas?
it's not. It's a picture of my backyard.
Oh,
So,
that's your backyard?
well, yeah, it's not real. It's a back. It's a picture of it that I took and then used as a backdrop.
Oh, but it is your real
But it is
backyard.
it is your backyard though.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay, that's very
yeah.
nice.
When we need to move, we are
We need
definitely
to
living in the
visit.
wrong place.
You should have told us you had a pool in the cabana. I can't swim a stroke, but I do like to sit by the pool.
But that's okay, you know.
But that's beautiful. It's a beautiful setting. That would be nice to sit out, like in during the and it's probably good weather where you are in California. Pretty much has good weather everywhere,
Yeah,
but just
most of the time, yeah, it
by the
is.
pool, and on a nice day, and reading or just relaxing. That's a very nice setting for that. So, you're here to talk about your memoir, Week Start, uh, and I forgot the rest of it. But show us a copy of your book if you have it.
Sure. It's
Week
it's
Start and
unapologetic
Unapologetic
present.
Present. Okay. Now that is that a hardcover?
It is.
Okay.
It comes in hardcover, paperback, audio,
Okay.
you name it.
Okay. Now, did you do your book? I'm just curious about KDP because they recently added audio, or did you produce your own audiobook?
No, I didn't produce my own audiobook. I Audible.
Audible,
It,
yeah.
yeah, it
Yeah,
was
that's Amazon owns Audible or KDP owns Audible, or it's all together.
okay.
Mhm. And so when you can pick paperback. They used to just only have paperbacks, but then and ebooks. But now you have four options when you do KDP. You have the hardcover, the paperback, the ebook, and the audiobook.
Right, right.
So it's really good to have options. Um, I all of my books are on audiobook. I was part of their beta rollout of audiobook.
Oh,
But
that's good.
yeah,
Because so
so
many
that
people just don't like to sit down and open a book and read it. Some
right,
people like to do it on the go, listen to it on their way to work or from work or what have you, you know.
right.
So it's a good source.
So tell us, one, why you called the book Week Start. Uh,
Unapologetic present.
yeah, I mean, but why was it a weak start? And then when did it become unapologetic? And it's a memoir, so uh, tell us how it unfolds. What part of your story do you start with? Your
Well, I
part of your life.
actually I started at the when I was about 5 years old,
Okay.
which is one of the reasons that I called the book Week Start Unapologetic Present. Throughout my life, there's been several week starts, starting with that one. And I won't go into any real detail about the um, the unapologetic present because I actually talk about that in the at the end of the book. Um, but the weeks I started, when I was about 5 years old, having to make a decision about who I wanted to live with. Uh, that was a weak start. And I talk about the people who uh, took me in and were my parents. And I tell the story. The story starts out centered around that. And, it's so, yes, I do start at an early part of my life. And I tell some very humorous stories about that part of my life as well, especially from school when I was in elementary school.
Now, where did you grow up?
I grew up in North Carolina,
What part?
in eastern North Carolina, Winterville.
Winterville. My,
Winterville.
my
It's
people are from North Carolina. I never heard of Winterville. It must be,
Yeah, I'm not.
but they're more
I'm
from
not
the
familiar with
middle.
that.
I'm sorry.
My people are from the Durham area.
Oh, okay. It's probably about 90 miles from Durham.
To the east.
No, it would be west of Durham.
Oh, okay. Because you said it was the
No,
east part.
I'm sorry. I'm getting my
Okay, directions.
direction right. It's closer to the Atlantic Ocean,
Okay, so yeah, that is east.
maybe 70
Like near
miles.
Wilmington? Near Wilmington?
It's not really near Wilmington, but it's not all that far from Wilmington.
Okay.
Probably close. Well, it's not as close as it would be to Durham, I don't think. It's been a long, I grew up there, but I've lived in California most of my life. So, sometimes geographically, I forget where some places are.
Yeah, I can imagine. Because that's from coast to coast. That's from one coast to the other coast.
Right, right. So anyway, towards the end of the book, I pull it all together about the weak start and the unapologetic present and those kinds of things. So anybody reading the book will definitely uh, get a good idea as to why I named the book, titled the book rather, Weak Start, Unapologetic Present. And Also, the subtitle is Weak Start, Unapologetic Present, a journey through Jim Crow, the information age to God. So I cover all of those phases of my life in the book. There's 8 sections, and I talk in detail about all of those, and I interweave rather some aspects of Jim Crow throughout the entire book.
How big is Winterville?
Not very well. When I grew up, it was probably 1,000 or 1,100 people when I grew up.
Okay, so real small.
There. Yeah, very, very small.
I'm about to say, I've never heard of Winterville.
Well,
Me either. And I have been all over North Carolina because, like I said, my parents are both from there. And so all of our road trips were all over the state. But we didn't go east. We didn't go toward the Atlantic Ocean. We were always like in the central part of the state for the most part.
Yeah, you couldn't miss it if you went towards the coast.
Okay. So what's the Black population there? What was that like growing up there as a little boy?
When I grew up there, it was probably 35%. I'm guessing, but a lot of African Americans there, much more so than in California, of course.
Okay.
Not quite. I don't believe the population of in Houston or that area, but significant.
Okay. Well, yeah, we got lots and lots of Black people in Houston. And Texas has more Black people than any state.
Yeah, I'm sure.
People don't know that, but Texas has the most Black people because Texas is big.
Yeah.
We got 4 big cities, and we have a lot of Black people living in rural areas. Black people with ranches, and they're in small rural towns of Texas, and the cowboy culture and all of that.
Right.
So now, how did you get to California?
By way of the Navy. I was in the Navy. And that was my last duty station. I liked it here, so I stayed. I was in the
California
Navy.
is a great place for the Navy.
Yeah,
There's a lot of Navy out there.
Right. I was in the Navy for 8 years, but most of my time I spent overseas. And but my last tour of duty was here in Stockton. So I got out and, just stayed here. For several years I had plans of leaving, but the longer, I'm sure you know that, the longer you stay, the harder it is to leave.
Yeah, you get roots, and then you buy a house, and have a family. You have a family?
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah, sometimes you settle in and you just say, this is it.
yeah.
Mm.
And that's what we did. And I'm very glad we did, because I've seen how some things shape up in other parts of the country that I don't want to single out any particular states, but the politics is a little different here in California.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
It's a one party state, more or less.
yeah, more or less.
Hmm. More or less. So, once you settled in Stockton, you went into uh the tech industry, I believe you said
Oh,
last time you were here.
yeah, that's correct. I spent a long time in the technology industry. Um, as a information technology specialist and network design, designing some wide area networks, some national wide area networks, metropolitan area networks, local area networks, you name it. I
Mm.
I did it, and that was a very enjoyable period of my life, all 42 years, because it was it was challenging. There was never a dull day, and so I loved it.
Yeah, well, it's technology, especially once the internet um became a thing and took off.
Right.
I know, young people, like my daughter's 29. She doesn't know anything about not having the internet.
Yeah.
Right, right.
So the group that's in their late 20s, well, 30 and under, pretty much early 30s and under, they've never seen a world without the internet. So when you describe, so that's a lot of change in the way people communicate and, phone calling. There's been a lot of major changes in technology in the last 25 years. Uh, cell phones now, everybody has one, but that's not the way it started out. So,
That's that is correct. I remember the first one that I had, you had to, it was a shoulder mounted. So you had a shoulder bag to carry it, because it was so heavy.
oh, wow.
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
But you mentioned young people and not being able to do without technology, and which is one of the reasons that I wrote my book, Weak Start Unapologetic Present, because I grew up during a time when uh, most people simply don't realize, even though they've heard, for example, the terms Jim Crow, they don't really know what it means.
Mhm.
And I think it's critically important today that more people do understand what it means, because I see a lot of similarities today in our country that existed during Jim Crow. So I
They
think
don't realize that in certain ways history is repeating itself.
that is correct. And one of the things, we're only 60 years away from Jim Crow today, only 60 years. It was
Mm-hmm.
it was ended.
1965.
Yeah,
1965.
yeah,
So,
legally in 65.
Right.
But the remnants of Jim Crow still continued long after 1965. As a matter of fact, there are still some state constitutions today that still have some remnants of Jim Crow in their state constitution. And you'd be
Yeah, that's
surprised.
true.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised where you would find them. But you know, and which is again one of the reasons that I wrote the book, because you know, for whatever reason, most people don't want to talk about it. And I think that is why, you know, we're really on the verge of seeing another phase of Jim Crow as we sit here tonight. You know, even though we think it's behind us, when you look at what happened the first couple of times that we had freedom and it was taken away, we see the same patterns going on now. You know, with because I'm sure you know that there were slave codes for the 13 original colonies, and then there were the black codes.
Mm-hmm.
There were the black codes, and the black codes came about because the President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. And then, you know, the 13th Amendment during the same year in 1863 was passed by Congress, and it was ratified in 1865. But as a result of that, the states, particularly the southern states, some others too, in response to that, they passed the black codes. And not very many people realize what the black codes really were. The black codes actually took away freedom. I mean, and it's stated specifically in some state constitutions. And I'm paraphrasing, but there are statements in a particular, and I put this in my book, in a particular state that says that the purpose of this law is to deal with prior or previously enslaved people and to return them back to a condition before they were free, before emancipation. And that condition, of course, was slavery. And, you know, so when we look at, the question comes up, you know, can it happen again? I think we need to look at history and how easy it was that happened. The people in the late 1800s during Reconstruction had no idea that their freedoms would be taken away. And there was even a civil rights bill of 1866. And this is when Jim Crow came on board, when Congress passed the Civil Rights Bill of 1866, and they did that in response to the black codes that the states had passed. But then in response to Congress's action, the states responded with Jim Crow laws. And those laws that I was just saying earlier were actually, they were actually enforced until 1965. And I go into
separate but equal. Basically, a lot of it was that. And you basically didn't have equal protection under the law at all.
None whatsoever.
Right.
And I try to, you know, in my book, I try to help anybody who reads it to understand that and how critical it is that we today take a look at, pay attention, I should say, what is
Right.
really happening in front of us,
Mhm.
because the same patterns are happening. So it's
Well, I don't. We're not, these people now are not the same people that were then, in terms of being fearful and willing to accept what was happening. That was a lot of it. When you have people who were slaves, they basically lived in fear and they couldn't challenge anything. They had not legally challenged. They didn't have the wherewithal to challenge. Even when I think about my parents, um, and my parents were, lived through Jim Crow, and they didn't let it stop them from progressing and doing things they wanted to do. But they never. I'll just give you a situation. My parents, the house they ended up buying was in an all white area of Virginia. I think they had one black neighbor. Very nice neighborhood, but their white neighbors basically didn't speak to them. Then we were grown and gone. So this was the house they bought after we were grown. And the person who lived next door, their name was Long. Their last name was Long. And my parents had a fruit tree in the backyard, and it wasn't a fence. It was like kind of rural area. And he would just come in our yard and take the fruit off of my parents' tree without asking. And one day my dad went out there when he was actually taking the fruit from the tree. And the guy said, well, my wife likes these, whatever it was. This was, but my dad didn't give him an earful. I would have given him, I would have read him the riot act. You know what I mean? But because my dad
Well,
grew up in those times where you didn't confront white people, you
oh,
didn't.
um, I remember when I used to watch these civil rights movies with my grandmother, and I would say things like, I would have said this, I would have done that. And she shut me down. She said, you don't know what you would have done had you lived in those times. And I think sometimes it's easy for us to live in the times that we live and say what we would have done had something that happened to somebody in the 40s or the 50s or even the 60s. It's easy for us to say, oh, we would have done this or we would have said that. And it's not always that easy.
Well, I
right.
don't mean, no, this wasn't in the 50s or the 60s. This was in the 80s. This was now. I was at the house when this happened as an adult person.
But but
And
but,
I
the-
didn't
but
know
I
this
guess
happened
you have to
until
also look
later.
at the time in which they grew up.
No, I agree. No,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. They grew up where you didn't really confront white people, one on one like that. That's not who we are right now. These are
Well,
we're
well, the
not those
thing,
people.
the,
So I don't see us going back. Now I hear what you're saying, but I don't see we're not going back. That's
well,
just
I'm
yeah.
not predicting, I'm
Okay.
not predicting that we will go back. So
Okay.
let me clarify that. What
Okay.
I'm doing is presenting in my book, for example, history. And and it's real. And when we talk about what the people did in the past, well, I think that they were much more brave than we are today. For example, it's happening as we speak today. Just for example, Shelby versus Holder in 2013 during the Obama administration. The Supreme Court struck down Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And the court struck down the formula that had been used for 50 years since the Civil Rights Bill of 1965. And that formula was to uh, use rather to determine which states would be monitored by the federal government because they're the ones who, in the past, had taken away voting rights from African Americans. And as a result of that, we've seen voter registration opposition. We've seen all kinds of bills that have been introduced because of Shelby versus Holder. So that's been, so there's no way. So here's what I'm saying briefly, is that today, as we sit here, we have no way to even determine whether or not a state is discriminating against African Americans and other people of color when it comes to voting. And in addition to that, since that bill, there's been 29 states that have passed 94 laws, making it more difficult for people of color to vote. And it's having an impact. Today, this morning, the Attorney General of Mississippi asked the Supreme Court to strike down Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act limits, she asked to limit who can actually sue for discrimination under the Voting Rights Act. In other words, what they're seeking is a situation whereby organizations such as the NAACP or the ACLU and other organizations will not be able to represent people who are discriminated against in voting. That's major. We had our success.
We're at the end of our show. We're actually over the time for our show.
Yeah, we actually went about a minute over.
We opened the can of worms and we didn't
I'm telling you, that's well.
But buy Lester's book, Week Start, Unapologetic Present. Show the cover again, Lester.
Sure.
He's giving us some information. It looks like it's pretty hefty, so it's chock full of information.
Yeah.
It's a long book, but the audio version is, I love it. So anybody who doesn't like to sit for long periods of time and read, pick up the audio.
Okay, well, we're actually a little bit past our end time. So thank you, Lester, for being back on the show. We really appreciate you, and congratulations on your book.
Thank you for the invitation. Look forward to seeing you in Houston.
And thank you for the history lesson.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good night.
Well, good night. Well, we're a little bit over time, but that's okay. And Rhonda, thank you for doing the duty. And we will see you all next week on another episode of Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson signing off.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Have a wonderful evening and a great week.
Thank you for tuning in, and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.